Yeah, so Mission 6, as I've told you before, the idea was to interview veterans and get everyday veteran stories, because we always get, like, we hear about the heroes of great, amazing stories that we need to hear. And then started to branch out to first responders like yourself. And we were discussing before about how military service, those who specifically were in battle, suffer more like acute PTSD, whereas emergency service, police in particular, is more. I don't know if I'm using the words right.
Chronic is a very appropriate word for it.
Longer, exposed to it over a longer period of time. So anyway, start with you and your background. Like, you work for
City of Ithaca Fire Department.
City of Ithaca Fire Department.
17 and a half years.
And so, leading up to that, like, let us know what your life was like growing up, where you lived, what kind of family background there was, maybe in first responders or military, up to like high school age, maybe even right up to before you started working or volunteering for fire or first responders.
Right. So yeah, my name's Rich Brown. I grew up outside of Elmira, New York, up by Newtown Battlefield. Two great parents. They stayed married my whole life, ups and downs, just like every married couple does, but they're still together. I'm 41, so about 42 years.
Yeah.
As far as the emergency services background, I have an uncle that was an Ithaca police officer for roughly 25 years, plus or minus a little bit, I believe more. And my brother was the United States Coast Guard for, once again, 25 years, I think 26 or 7. And he's still in the military, but he's now the trophy wife as my sister travels around doing what she does in the military, Coast Guard. She's in intelligence. And my mother worked as a special deputy sheriff through the Chemung County Sheriff's Department. Worked at like the License Bureau, making sure people didn't come in to hurt them and the welfare examiner type people. And then my dad has a master's degree in psychology. Spent some time working at the Willard State Mental Institution. And somewhere in there, he was a math teacher. And then he got a job as a Chemung County probation officer. And he was there for, once again, roughly that 22 to 25 year mark. I don't quite remember, which came to a sudden halt when he just up and retired due to the stress of what was going on there. As far as my other background, educational background, I went to the Holy Family School System. Started out at St. Mary Mothers in Horseheads till 3rd grade. Transferred to Holy Family. Was there until the end of 8th grade when I went to Notre Dame and graduated from Notre Dame High School.
Okay.
You know, I've had a lifetime of people telling me what I get to wear every day, which is very nice. Never had to choose an outfit in my life. And then I became a volunteer firefighter. I became a volunteer firefighter August, 2nd or 3rd week of August of 2001, just before September 11th.
Okay.
Never had any idea what volunteering meant beyond, I always go back to the Science Center I volunteered 4 years ago. On the Red Cross, I tried to be a bell ringer and bring in money around Christmas time. But to me, that's what volunteering was. I had no grasp on anything beyond that. I was driving to soccer practice some August afternoon, or maybe coming back, I don't remember now, but we truck bay doors to the Wellsburg Volunteer Fire Department in Chemung County were open. Did a U-turn on the road, went back. Fire chief happened to be there. The assistant fire chief happened to be there. Mike McCoy was the fire chief's name, and happened to know my dad pretty well. So we got to talking, figured out who was who, and he was trying to talk me into really become a firefighter. And you know, at 17 years old, I was pretty shy. I was definitely a different person. And I was sitting there answering the questions, and yes sir, no sir, this is what I want, yada yada yada. And he says, "Well, do you want to be a firefighter or do you want to be an auxiliary firefighter?" I go, "Well, I don't know. I'm not really good with words. What's the difference?"
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And
that's right where my mind's going.
And he goes, "Well, the auxiliary, they support the firefighters. They'll give them food and water, and they'll help with fundraising and that kind of thing. And you know, the firefighters, they go in and they fight the fire." I remember turning pretty red and saying, you know, I don't know. I was very nervous to say because, you know, it's just the point I was in my life. I go, boy, I think I want to go in and I want to fight the fires. He goes, "Well, I got an application for you." So filled out the application. I was underage, so I had to take it home. Had my mother sign it because I knew Dad wouldn't. She signs it. I take it back, and they have to check, make sure you're not an arsonist and all this stuff. And he says, "Hey, yeah, I know your dad. I'm going to do you a favor. Dad doesn't know about this yet."
Okay.
So we, I get it. I give him back the application paperwork, and he says, "Here's the deal. I want you to go to the Town and Country Fire Department on." I can't remember. I think it was on Monday. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever day this is.
Yeah.
They're starting a new basic firefighter class. I want you to sit in the back. I don't want you to talk to anybody. Don't tell them you don't belong to a fire department. Say you belong to Wellsburg. Get all your paperwork done and start attending this class.
Okay.
Because if you don't, you got to wait a year. So I says, all right. So I go to sit in the class, and the first day they really hit you with all what the job means to a firefighter, and I had absolutely no idea. I was overcome by not strong emotion, I would say, but I came out of that meeting really thinking about things in a different light. And then I ended up wanting to make it a career, and I got lucky enough to get lucky on a couple of civil service exams now. Got hired by the department I wanted to get hired at and promoted up through, and here I am, like I said, 17 and a half years later.
What do you think, like you said you're like point blank your dad wouldn't sign. What do you think that was about? Why?
That's a great question. My dad was a musician. This is going to take a turn you didn't think he was going to go. My dad was a musician, and the reason he knew the fire chief of Wellsburg, and the fire chief of Wellsburg was a phenomenal dude, Asian Irishman, just like contradiction in terms, but his dad was an Irishman that owned the Wellsburg Tavern in Wellsburg, a bar right across the street from the fire station. Yeah. And when my dad was years before working for the county and stuff, he didn't have a lot of money, and he was going through one of his divorces, and he was a bass guitarist, had his own band, and in order to live, he made a deal with Mike McCoy Sr. That was he would live in the upstairs of the bar as long as he entertained the guests. So he got to live for free and live there. So my dad knows the Wellsburg firefighters very well, in an extremely different capacity. And a different time when it was very common stance for firefighters to get hammered and then go drive a fire truck. Because the 90s were 80s, 90s. It was the 70s when he was down there. But it was a whole different environment. So I remember Wellsbury having fires. And for whatever reason, Dad was driving my vehicle. And he purposely went 15 miles an hour to the fire station so I couldn't get on a truck. He was terrified these guys were going to kill me. And then one of the other things that ties into this is when I was a very young child, I don't remember, third, fourth grade, something like that. Somewhere's in there, I was terrified of fire. Well, I was terrified of fire, I mean, into my teenage years, but I told my parents multiple times that I had been killed in a fire. I died in a fire in my last life. So now everything's coming to fruition. I'm working with people that maybe don't have the best judgment making decisions, but by the time I was in the 2000s, alcohol in the firehouse was out in that department. But he had a very strong opposition because of everything about me.
It was a concern for your life, for your safety, which is interesting because I remember when I told my parents that I was going to join the Marine Corps, my dad was adamantly opposed. He did not like that at all.
My father was adamantly against the military.
And I get it now as a dad. Like, I get it. But I think it pushed me even more to be like, I'm going to prove you, It pushed me to do it more. Yeah,
I got pushed out of going to any of the armed services, and mainly by my dad. And I said, this is an opportunity that I'm not going to lose. So that's where we went.
What drew you? Like, normally I'd ask, like, why did you choose the branch of military that you did? So for you, like, why? I mean, you mentioned that you drove past the firehouse, the Wellsburg firehouse, and the doors were open. But like, why Wellsburg? Why not Elmira? Why not like any of the other local?
So to start, it was dumb luck. Okay. And then beyond that, fire departments, volunteer fire departments, career fire departments, they have a district. So to volunteer for certain fire departments, you have to, in most cases, volunteer or live in their fire district in order to volunteer. So that locked me into Wellsburg. Beyond that, the rest of my career, I just did research on where I wanted to go. City of Elmira, I would have worked there. I just didn't score well enough on the exam, but I went to school with their kids. My friends' dads were in that department. But I got hired by Ithaca, which
Okay.
very happy about.
Good. What do you think? I kind of want to. This could go a million different directions too, but how many years have you been with Ithaca again?
Been 17 and a half years as a full-time career guy.
When you first went in, how old were you at Ithaca?
At Ithaca, when I first went in, I was 24 years old.
So you've already had quite a bit of volunteer experience.
Yeah, I had
before that.
7+ years of experience in the volunteer world. And then I worked for numerous ambulance companies, ending with Bangs Ambulance in the city of Ithaca.
So you were volunteering fire and then working EMT?
120 hours a week for 3 years.
I know that. It's my brother.
So, yes,
lived that life.
It's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
Crazy
hours.
The first 2 years, I was second on the amount of calls that I ran in the agency. In the third year, I ran less calls, but I took number one. So I was running almost 2,000 calls a year, 120 hours a week. It's just an insane amount of patient contact.
With all that, is what makes this question difficult. Is like, out of your entire experience, is there anything that stands out, an experience that stands out that had the most impact on you, whether positive or negative?
Yeah,
it's a lot to sort through.
We could snowball through this. I mean, we sit at the ready room table at work, and the best way for us to work through stuff is sit at the ready room table and be just brutally taken apart by your brothers. And we have sisters too, but the brothers and sisters of the firehouse is brutally. We pick on each other and we relive this stuff, and oftentimes we laugh at times we shouldn't laugh about. Yeah. But through that, we can sit down as a group and talk about stuff all day long and not cover all the topics of stuff that we've seen, because it's just that, and that's where that chronic issues kind of come in. Right. Everybody's going to tell you pediatric calls are going to get them. I've been on pediatric calls where I've taken a child away from a mother. I've looked her dead in the eyes, knowing she was never going to hold that child again. Yeah. And I took that baby from her, and we got her got the pediatric. I think it was a boy. Got that pediatric to the ambulance. We worked that kid. Actively seizing grand mal seizures for hours. They couldn't make it stop. Even the doctors couldn't make it stop. But I took that pediatric away from the mom, knowing you were never going to hold your baby again. Yeah. And I was one of the last people to hold that baby alive. I did, back pediatric stuff. I did so many pediatric hospital morgue to autopsy transports that I could wrap that pediatric up on a stretcher and make it look like a pillow, and get it through the ER, because there was construction going on at the hospital. But I could wrap that baby up in its body bag on that stretcher, make it look like a pillow. I always had to put that in the pediatric where the pillow of the stretcher would go. I always had my cardiac monitor on the other end like it would. I always had my blankets, which always went in the middle. I'm very anal retentive about how I do stuff. Yeah. All my straps would be folded under and bow tied, and I could go right through the ER. Nobody would ever know it was a baby. Wow. The biggest one that hit me, and maybe not the biggest pediatric call that hit me, like I said, we could snowball for hours on this. But I was working at the ambulance, and one of our paramedics had parted ways with our agency. Good enough human being, but not really a great medic. Yeah. Went and worked for a neighboring agency, and she called on the radio. We all worked the same shifts. I worked 24 hours on Wednesdays, and I worked 48s on the weekend. That was my set schedule, and then there was stuff all over. So she was coming through on her ambulance and called on our channel and said, "Donnie and Rich, I need help. Meet me here." And we're like, "Oh boy." So we go sprinting to the fly car, which is downstairs, get in the fly car. We never caught him. Got to the hospital. Dad had a couple of drinks and was holding this pediatric baby. I can't remember, 2 years old or so. Not a tiny thing, but I was holding that kid and fell asleep, rolled over on it, killed the kid. Oh my goodness. So they're working that call. And one of the fortunate things about me and my career is I hold that stiff jaw until the call's over. Yeah. Some people don't, and they're way more healthy than I am. The people that break down sooner often are able to work through things a little bit better. I work 120 hours a week for an ambulance, which we obviously stated, but the people at the ER know me. and they're falling apart. They've called the call, and the kids, it's done, and the mother's in there holding the child, screaming. I mean, at the top of her lungs for an hour, and it becomes time where they have to get control of their ER back, not to be cold,
right?
ER has to be back. She needs to separate. The pediatric has to go on a cooler because an autopsy has to be done, and they couldn't do it. So they asked me, look, Brownie, we've got to have you go in and take. And I don't work for the hospital, but I have to go in and talk with the mother for a while. And it's time. I need to take your baby away from you. And the husband was in all kinds of trouble. He was there. He was a mess. I get the kid, and once again, I get it wrapped up on a gurney and get it all appropriate and get it down to the morgue. And then I had to take that kid to the morgue a couple hours later. Those calls always get you. The other calls that really get you are ones that you think you can make a difference on, but you can't make a difference on. We've all had dreams where we're running, we're trying to run, and you can't run. Our environment is very similar, where I've been on calls where something is holding me back. Sometimes it's my training. Often it's not my training, but sometimes it has been my training. Or it's a bad incident commander or a bad officer or extenuating circumstances where we just can't dive in. And that you could make a difference if the circumstances were a little bit different, but whatever reason, it's not there. I had a dive call. I was with going way back, going back to Wellsburg years back, and we won't get into all the details, but I had to stand next to the water because we couldn't get into the water at that time. There was an 11-year-old that was drowned.
Oh no!
We stood next to that river most of the night, and then we got up the next morning after the water had receded, and those calls are stressful. And that happens more frequently than you'd like it to be because we can't control the environment. The environment has to control us sometimes. I don't know how many more examples you want, but
no, it's interesting that you've worked for fire, right? And so we always think fireman always, what would stand out most would be a house collapse, like the worst fire you've ever seen, but it's pediatric medical, that tends to be what stands out.
Well, we've had bad fires too.
I'm sure.
It's just that the medical call, the fire department is what we do because nobody else can do it. But we can also be to calls a lot faster than the ambulance companies or whatever. And so we're often near a little bit faster.
With the pediatric, it's human to human. It's not so much like human fire. So that makes I can see how that would have a bigger impact. If
a fire goes well, it's a rush.
I can see that.
Okay, it's a rush. If a fire goes bad, it's anger. Okay. Very rarely at a fire are you in a position where it's not anger or a rush. It's one of the two. You shouldn't be scared. Right? So because if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't be scared.
That's right.
So I've been scared a couple of times. I've fallen through floors and things have gone bad. But it's when you're holding somebody and you're like, nope, I can do nothing for you. I'm gonna watch your soul leave your body. That's terrible.
For you and the guys and ladies that you work with, are there professionals that, you said you all sit down together and open up and talk about all this, but are there professionals there that are assigned to?
There can be. We actually have what's called the Center of Excellence, which is an IAFF, the International Association of Firefighters, runs a Center of Excellence down in Maryland, and that's for all kinds of psychiatric or drug abuse issues that we can go to. We've sent numerous people there. The most chronic, or the worst one that we've had was actually a military man named Russ Fiddler, a good friend of mine. He's no longer with the fire service, but he saw a bad time in the Middle East. Bad time, his and I won't go into the details of that, but he has what do they call it? It's PTSD, but the next level where he has to tell himself to breathe.
Wow.
And if he doesn't tell himself to breathe, his nervous system does not have the drive to let him breathe. So he can be sleeping and then wake up totally suffocating. And he'll wake up and he's like, oh, gotta breathe. And he's got to remind himself to breathe. And when you have the military people that have seen a lot of stuff, we have a handful of them at work that have seen terrible things. And sometimes they open up and you're like, hot damn.
And I think a lot of times, that's interesting, kind of a bleed over is that I think a lot of military people end up in first responder, police, medical, fire, just because it's kind of a continuation of like just what they know.
Well, what do you do? You're a military person. When you're in the heat of what you do, you have the rush, and that controls a lot of feelings. And then you come out of the military and you hear, it doesn't matter what military branch it is, but every single one of them, especially the guys in Vietnam, they're like, I was fighting, I killed somebody yesterday, my best friend got shot yesterday, 48 hours later, I'm back a civilian, and now I don't have that rush. I don't have this thing. I don't have the ability to cope with that.
Yeah.
So the fire service, the paramedicine, the police departments, all of that is another avenue to search for that. And what happened with some of our guys is, we're not FDNY. We're not running 100,000 calls a year. We're running 6,000 calls a year, and we're doing it on a different scale. It's they get inside their head. They thought it was going to fill that void, and sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But like some of these guys that really, really had time over there, they need something consistent. They would be better off in battle every single day than they would be back home, because they just get into their head.
I saw a meme.
Same thing with us.
It was today or yesterday. It's a picture of a guy, just blasting away on a 50 cal, and then another picture of a guy, like obviously they have an argument with his wife, or whatever, and it says, "This was easier than this."
I go
the way.
Yeah,
what they're used to.
I 100% agree. I mean, I think a lot of the people in my business, like I'm an officer, I make life and death decisions, every single day. Especially when I was a lieutenant on the engine, every single day we were doing something that was relatively important. I mean, not every single day, but enough. And then you go home, and it's a whole different dynamic. Now I'm not the boss all the time.
Right.
And the scenarios are different, where I can bark out orders and I can tell my people what to do when the most critical moments matter. Now I'm home, and that's
totally
not
different.
you. That's not how you run a household.
It's
Completely
like
different.
Flip a switch almost.
Yeah, it's harder to go home sometimes. So,
and that's kind of bleeds into the next question, is like your experience in service. I mean, you're still working. For the fire department. How has it impacted your life? Whether it's home life or personal life, whether positive or negative.
I've been all over the board with it. I mean, my brother-in-law, who's sitting in the back here, probably doesn't even know about some of the struggles I went through, unless my wife told her twin sister, which is his wife. But I've had some really bad times, especially as a younger person. Dealing with some of the stuff we go through, and you can't find the cursor. Like I talked to one of my best friends who's a lieutenant this morning, and he says, "Brownie, I'm just angry." At what? I don't know at what.
He doesn't even know.
He doesn't even know. But I remember, years back, you go on these roller coaster emotions depending on how busy you are and what you've seen recently, and then what gets you, like I said, is the quiet time when you're not doing stuff. And the worst time is when you're sitting on the tractor mowing the lawn, or I have 80 acres mowing in the fields or doing stuff by myself, and I call it that tractor time. Like, don't leave me alone with my thoughts. But I was sitting in my bed upstairs one time, and it was the house I'm in now, but it's our older bedroom before the remodel. And you ever had the feeling when you want to go down a water slide and you're scared? And something pushes you to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sitting there, and I'm unholstering for the night. I had my pistol on me. And I'm holding the pistol in my hand, and I break down in tears. And I'm not a crier. I break down in tears because I realize that instinct to push yourself down that water slide is the same thing of how you commit suicide. It takes just that. I'm done. Boom. So I didn't carry my gun for years. I left it in the gun safe because I was never had the thought. But that was close enough for me to make the identification, because I never could understand how somebody would commit suicide. Because every single day I'm seeing people that are taking their own lives or losing their life without a choice. And it was terrible. But then all of a sudden I was like, I know how this works now. And it was a bulb that I didn't want to have flash. It was an idea that I didn't want to have connected. That's in that circle won't leave. We've worked through that, of course. That was probably a decade ago or so.
It's amazing how common that is. Not just in the recent conversations from doing the interviews, but that happens a lot. Those moments.
And I worked through it on my own,
Yeah.
which I should not have done. Obviously, I had to tell my wife. I told her, she's like, "What is the matter with you?" And she was very sympathetic. I says, "I fell off my nut." And she goes, "What?" I'm like, I fell off my nut. That's how I called it. But I worked through that. And it took a lot of time. I mean, anger, you spike in anger and you spike in sadness, and you go around, you go to work, and things feel normal when you're busy at work. Then you come home, you get that free time. But back to the guys at the firehouse. So they have the Center of Excellence in Maryland, which we send people down for various reasons. They help work stuff out. We have access to EAP. I've never accessed either one of those, though I probably should have dug into at least one of those a little bit more. There's other Christian organizations, First Rung Leadership, which is
First Rung.
First Rung.
I've never heard of that.
Yep, it's for firefighters. They'll do a little bit of cops. Ran out of North Carolina area, and a good Christian friend of mine who's a fire service leader for the.
I'll find their link and put it in the comment section.
Totally non-for-profit.
That's cool.
All Christian based. A good place to go. I put people there. We can put people in touch. But having somebody that you can confide in, that you can just talk to and just open up about, that's number one for me. I'm a talker. But I don't want people to know my stuff.
Right.
Like, we talked about this whole falling off my nut thing. You're one of 4 people in the world that know. Plus YouTube soon.
Well, we can cut anything you want.
No. That's part of growing through all the stuff. But I strategically place people out of my system. I mean, at fire conferences, and you bond. And I got a guy named Aaron Moore who is the captain for the North Tonawanda, New York Fire Department. And if I got something bugging me, I can call him. And he's had stuff that bothers him, and he calls me. Now we're out of system. He knows that his guys aren't going to find out. Right. And I know that my guys are going to find out.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good relationship to have.
I got a couple of really close friends at work that I know I can talk to, and you sit up, and if this bothering me, it's probably bothering them too. We all go on the same stuff. But getting out there, you got to be honest about your feelings.
You do.
This goes back into another little story. But years back, I had the epiphany. Never questioned Christianity or Jesus or God in my life. Just not one of those people that bad things happen to. I'm like, well, screw God. He didn't. No, that's not who I am. However, I had issues spiritually bonding with the scenario. Okay. And one day I was sitting in a church. It was Bentley Creek Wesleyan, down there in your neck of the woods. And Pastor Rob was talking about being Samsonite strong.
Samsonite strong.
Or Samson strong. Samson strong. I'm sorry. Words aren't my thing.
No, that would have been a neat title to it.
But he was talking about being Samson strong and the ability of, and honestly, I don't even remember the whole deal. But I have the epiphany while sitting there with everything that I'd been through at the time, that I have to be strong enough to ask God for help because I am my own biggest block. And that block is I'm around people like yourself, very strong men, very opinionated people, don't want people to see them break down. But then in my own life, I'm still that person.
All that is a wall, though. That's a wall.
Right. And why am I shielding myself from God? Why can't I ask God for help? He's that guy. He's the out-of-system person that you can talk to. And you got to have that epiphany as somebody that's in our services, that you have to talk to somebody, even if it's just talking to God. He may not physically answer you or vocally answer you. You've got to be man enough or strong enough in a woman's case to get past that block, because you're really walling off yourself. You're only creating damage. This helping? We on track?
Definitely. And it bleeds into like the next question is like, with the kind of work you do, what are it's part of the same question. You are answering like some of the negative things that you feel like it has on your life. But what are some, like, other than the close relationships, and then what you were talking about, like your spirituality with God, what are some positive things that your career has impacted in your life? Physically or, emotionally, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you hit one of the big ones on that front. I have friendships that I'll never be able to replace. I was essentially an only child. I have brothers and sisters like I never could have dreamed that I have. That's so amazing. I don't know if most people go through life with a purpose.
Mm. Mm.
At the end of the day, when the day is done, when I blink my final blink and breathe my final breath,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've made a difference.
Right.
Now, I would.
That's huge.
You know, I don't think I'm making a difference like a pastor is, but I'm making a difference with whom I can save what's in my capacity.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. You know, I still wish I could make more of a difference. But boy, at the end of the day, I know what I've done. And that's very fulfilling.
Yeah, for sure.
The friendships are always there. You know, most of our retirees say, I miss the job. I miss the people.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the politics.
Yeah.
And most of them will also, a good portion of them say, I don't miss the calls at all. I do miss the people, but there's something to be said for the lifelong bonding that we have in that group. We're just an amazing group of people. But yeah, making a difference. I mean, I hope most people at the end of the day, when their day is done, they can say, I've done this and I've made a difference. I hope the people that are across seas fighting for our freedom are doing the same thing. They're coming back and being fulfilled. I don't think that's universally the case. But I've been busy enough in my career that I'm pretty confident that when my day's done, I'm not going to have too many regrets.
Yeah.
So that's huge because I had no direction really prior to the fire service. I didn't know what I was going to do. So
yeah. And that kind of answers the question, I think, is are you
laid
glad?
It out so well, you don't even know.
Right? You're doing good segues. Are you glad? It's a simple question. Are you glad that you started, that you have this career in fire?
Yeah, I would never do anything differently. If I did anything differently, it would be stay busy longer.
Yeah.
You know, no secret to you that I promoted recently, and I don't run calls as much as I used to, and I'm in a completely different capacity. Being an engine lieutenant was the best job in the fire service. If I could have been with a busier fire department and right from the get-go, I might have done that. But that being said, Ithaca's got really good people. We're the best around, and I don't shy away from saying that. But I would do it over again in a heartbeat, regardless of how I.
With the city of Ithaca, I mean, it's kind of a small city, that it's a nice mix of like just enough calls, not to be crazy like NYPD, but enough to stay busy and yet not be busy.
Yeah, you can tell around the firehouse when we haven't been busy enough.
Yeah,
the infighting starts happening and people get grumpy, and then you have a major call, and all of a sudden we're all friends again.
Perspectives change, right?
Here we go.
Common enemy.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. We're busy. We only run 2 people on a piece. Most people have 3 or 4.
Okay.
In bigger metropolitan areas. Heck, FDNY has 6 people on a piece. We have 2, and we're doing the job of those 4 or 6 people. So
you have 1 station in Ithaca? You
4.
Have 4.
Yep.
And then everyone that is there are paid full-time fire?
Yep.
You don't have any like volunteer that assist?
Used to. We don't anymore.
Okay.
Right now, all we have, and we love them, is volunteer fire police. So we have a tree down on wires or a road is blocked at 3 in the morning. They will come and block that thing, and so we can keep a apparatus in service.
Nice.
We don't have enough manpower to block all this stuff, and I don't know what drives these guys, but they love helping us, and boy, we like having them. But that's the only volunteers we have.
And how many paid firefighters do you have per station?
Station 2, 3, and 4 have 2 people on duty at a time.
Okay, that's what you were saying. Okay.
And then Station 1, so Station 2, 3, and 4 each run an engine. Okay. That engine company has 2 firefighters on it. Station 2 has a lieutenant and a firefighter on it. 3 and 4 has 2 firefighters on it, 24/7. And then when you go to Central, we have 5 people minimum on duty. We have a duty chief, the shift commander. We have an engine lieutenant and a driver, and firefighter. And then we have 2 people on the ladder truck that are firefighters.
So if you have like a structure fire going on at one of these stations that only has 2 people, how does that work?
Everybody goes. So, well, not everybody goes. We send 9 to the initial assignment. We call it a full assignment to a fire.
Okay.
And then if we find out or we get credible information that it's a working fire, we send the additional 2 people. And we then recall people off duty. We are extremely aggressive, and people say everybody thinks their fire department's aggressive, but until you've done it with 2 people, you're it's a whole nother world.
So you send the two from one station,
and then
and then
everybody else is coming.
All the other stations to that one. Okay.
So our goal is to get water, and we train pretty hard on this. Is when especially when I was an engine lieutenant, my driver was to put that nozzle without me telling him. This is a standing order for me. My driver is to put the nozzle to that first line to wherever the fire is showing.
Okay.
Put it there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my 360. I'm checking for life hazards, fire extension, and other people are trying to jump out of windows because that's pretty important, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then as part of my 360 walk around, getting that complete picture of what's going on. If I need to call an audible, I have them pull another line, to another location. But first line goes to the fire side. I want water spraying on that fire within 1 minute.
Yeah.
And that's in the fire service almost unheard of.
Huh.
It's catching on, but we call it a transitional attack. Just get that fire cooled down.
Yeah.
People don't die from fire. They die from products of the smoke and complete combustion. It is deadly. 2 breaths, you're down. So
I'm picturing as a kid, you have these books or little videos of firemen and somebody's, running in a second story window and they're running around with a trampoline underneath. What do you, I know that's not how it works, but
used to. I mean, they really used to have that.
Okay.
Well, we don't have that.
No.
So we don't have enough people to hold the trampoline.
Right. So what's you just what do you do? Ladder?
It can get dicey, man.
Yeah.
Luckily it's never happened to me, but I've, you get online, you get on the YouTube and you'll see mothers literally throw their babies out of the fire. Right. So when we train recruits, New York State Fire Academy is just up the road here. When they're going around, the instructors will open a window when the recruits get there, and they'll scream and they'll throw a dummy out the window.
Sandbag or a dummy or something. Yeah.
But that's known to happen. Most of the time, we try to talk to them. If there's fire coming out the window, we're going to put water in the window. Okay. If there's not fire coming out the window, they got a little bit of time. If there's heavy smoke coming out the window, they are a priority. And if there's no smoke coming out the window, their doorway's shut and they got a minute. So they're in an isolated area. Okay. So you have to triage.
Yeah,
especially if you got one patient, rescue them.
Right.
But if you got a triage, those are the things we're looking at. Who's the highest risk? Okay. Take the highest risk, put a ladder up, get up there, get them down, move to the next one. So
one of your stations is like hose, the next station is ladder, or how does that?
No, we run 4 engines on a ladder truck. On an initial fire assignment, we send 3 engines on a ladder truck. Okay. And then you do what the environment dictates that you do. Okay. So if an engine company needs to act as a rescue company, they're going to act as a rescue company. If ladders have to come off, that's what they're going to come off. All right. But once again, most of the time you don't know where the victims are. So my first line goes to the fire side. We try to knock it down. I do my 360, and if another priority pops up, then I call that audible. And that's on my experience, my gut. And it's like, this is what we need. I screw the line. I need to have a ladder right here and right now. And
how often do you do that 360?
Every single fire.
No, I mean, you get there, you do that, and then do you do it again another half an hour, or
it needs to be pretty continual. The fire's either growing or it's dying. Yeah, you're either putting fire out or it's growing. There's no in between. Right. And with that, regardless of whether the 2 of those are happening, that fire is either creating smoke, which is deadly, or the heat from the water with the water application is creating steam and smoke, which isn't better, but it's not great. So if we don't have a handle on that fire, you need to be going outside that box, whatever the box is. Okay. Could be a stud cavity. Okay. I need to keep looking at all 6 sides of that stud cavity to see if it's going up, out, in, out, around. If it's a whole building on fire, I need to every once in a while take a walk around that. Once we get people set up, we can set division bosses. So we label the structure: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. If there's more sides, name them. But we'll often put a Alpha division boss, and we can put a Charlie division boss. And between the 2 of them, they can cover Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta between the 2 of them, and then coordinate that information. If I don't have that, I wait for conditions to change or my people that are interior to change. I've done a lot of operations in my time, and I like to go in on the fires, but I've developed to a point in my career where I run a lot of fires on the outside. And I don't know what my frame is, but you get it in your spidey sense of like, okay, this is changing for better or worse. I need to go. I call it cataloging, which is not, nobody else calls that in the world, but I go catalog every single thing that I've seen and compare that. Because if I had smoke coming from this window and now I have steam coming from this window, it's good.
Mm.
But if it went the other way, you know,
Okay.
you got to keep going,
Huh.
and you have to stay ahead of it. You know,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's either growing or dying. You gotta do that.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The final question, unless I have a bonus one.
We got time and film.
At
720 minutes of film. You said.
least with this one, if it's still running. I know the answer to this. If a young person were to come to you saying, "Hey, I'm considering volunteer fire full time," what advice would you be giving them?
You know, it's something you don't know if you're going to be good at or if you're going to fall in love with until you try it.
Mm-hmm.
You're out nothing to try. Like I told your son, take the test.
Mm-hmm.
Opinions change, and your lifestyle is going to change as you get older. You can always say, you know what, I scored number one on this, but I don't want this, and then you can turn that job down, or you can volunteer and go, whew, this is not for me, and then turn it and then quit.
Yeah.
But if you don't take the test, if you don't try, then you're never going to know. And I would rather live with the knowing that I tried and than not.
Does volunteering help you with the test?
Not the test, but if you're a good volunteer or you've been good on the ambulance, which I was both, it helps you get hired.
Okay.
Now, the volunteering, and there will be a lot of people that will hate me for this. I'm still an active volunteer. I'm still an active volunteer fire officer, and I see tremendous things in that, that too, just up the road here. And I'm also a career assistant fire chief. I don't care what they say; they're different worlds.
Yeah.
But so being good at one doesn't mean you're good at the other.
Okay.
On either direction. Okay. You can be a great volunteer and be a terrible career guy. You can be a great career guy and be a terrible volunteer.
Yeah.
They're not universal.
Yeah.
They see a lot of the stuff. They experience a lot of the stuff, but it is a little bit different. But I guarantee you're going to get a lot of hate over that. Guarantee it.
I don't have that many subscribers, so don't worry about it.
But yeah, regardless of your outlook,
yeah,
most people have a human need to help other people.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. This is a very easy way to do it, and volunteer fire departments are dying for volunteers.
Yeah.
Odessa, where I volunteer up the road here,
To who?
Your stomach is talking.
I'll be darned. Stop it. Go on. But we only have I'm going to guess 7 interior people.
Okay.
And all of them but one are officers. We got to run the fire ground. My last fire I went, I'm one of the more experienced people, especially with my career experience there. I'm the lieutenant who's supposed to run the interior operations. I was in charge of operations of the entirety of the incident. And we don't have any way to put in. We have to have people that can go in and be good workers. But,
the bonus question.
Ooh. Do I get special points?
Yes.
Yes.
How realistic is the movie Backdraft?
Oh, people like to, all of those shows people like to hate on. When I joined Wellsburg. So joined Wellsburg 2 weeks later, September 11th happens while Backdraft was a thing. And then while I was at the academy, putting myself through as a volunteer, so I get hired as a career guy. Ladder 49 came out, and they're like, "This never happens. You'll never see. That's not how you do it." I've seen every single thing that in those movies that they say that they've screwed up on, from people not wearing gear and going into the fires and not wearing their air packs and just doing the stupidity of stuff. And I've seen worse than what they put in the movies. This will make very few sense to very many people, but my very first fire as a volunteer went to the town of Schmung. Mutual aid with Wellsburg, and I saw one of our captains from Wellsburg, who I thought was a hero at the time. I want to be that guy. And I know the guy; he's a good dude. But he cut a ventilation hole in the roof. We all know heat rises, so heat's going up there, and so he cuts this huge hole in the roof. And he didn't have a tool to break the drywall of the ceiling in the room, so he lowers himself in the ventilation hole, and he stands on the joists and he kicks the drywall out until the black smoke and the fire started shooting out the hole, and then he jumped out of the hole.
Oh my goodness.
And people are like, "You don't never." I'm telling you what.
Wow.
Somebody's made the mistakes in those movies.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
I'd rather they didn't, but it's entertaining to see.
Yeah. That's cool. I remember my brothers were volunteer firemen right around when that movie came out, and they were all about it. But
they're good movies. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like every military movie
you can pick anything apart.
It doesn't matter. Yes. But
that's it. Unless you have.
No, I appreciate your time. I hope this helps people. I hope it helps you. Getting that is very important to find people you can talk to and figuring out those avenues. And the correlation between the two in the end are very similar. It doesn't matter if you have acute PTSD or chronic PTSD. The recognition that you have it and the ability of figuring out that you have to talk about it and you have to find the right people to talk to. It cannot be replaced. And that's on every individual to figure out what that system is. I found out my system after between volunteering time and everything was 15, 20 years in the fire service, which is too late. But
and that's kind of the goal of this is like people watch it and be like, oh man, I'm dealing with the same thing. So cool. Thank you.
Oof.
You got a strong handshake there.
All right, Darrell, you're up.
Pass your mic to him.